me see my, there it is. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, here I am talking to you about something privately behind the scenes because the mics are on and here we go. But the point I was going to make and still going to make is it's good to get to know somebody if you're going to have them work with you on anything. Stay tuned for that discussion coming up right now. All right, so here we are. I put the hat on to start the show here because last show we got carried away with all our discussion. I didn't put the hat on. Now you can see my pretty mug there, everybody. If you want to see, I'll put host cam, all right? And then it switches to a title automatically. That is a beautiful picture. I hate that picture, by the way, everybody. I look fat. I look fat, everybody. It's all right, we got to use it anyway. That's the Cardinal Cowboy professional picture. La-di-da. Life must go on. But as we get into a discussion, just in general, like what do you do to be successful? How do you manage your life to help run a business and have a family? I've had some great discussion here with Phil because when you get down to it, everybody's got that problem, right? Unless you don't have any kids, and then like, do you not have any family besides that? Like I don't have any kids personally. I got to say my joke. My joke is I don't have any kids personally that I'm aware of. All right,
well, that's
and I'm certain. I'm certain they would have tracked me down because anybody who has a little bit of money, they want them to chip in on that, supporting that child, which just should be the case. Personally, just not like I didn't want to have kids. It just hasn't happened. And now I wake up one day and I'm 53. Still can do it.
How does that happen? It's like happen? It goes by so fast.
I know. I remember when I was like 28. And I'm like, now I'm 53. What happened? Just 25 years. Poof. So here we are. But if you're going to have a family, you got to run a business for sure. I mean, if you just want to be on this little planet, you need to do something to pay the bills, whether that's work for someone else or work for yourself. I always enjoyed working for myself because guess what? I'm in control. I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Well, that's where you got to have that drive, though. If you don't have the drive, some people they don't want to. They just want to put in their hours and then come home. And if you have the drive and the strive to do better, make more of yourself, give back to the community, put in, my kids at Halloween, we donated a bunch of pumpkins. You get that, like, I can give back a little bit, It's but not everybody has that drive. Not everybody has that.
Yeah, well, we talked about your kids that you've got. How many kids you got now?
2.
2 kids that he knows. I'm joking as a joke. I should make a joke about myself, but I'm sure you know that we all can make break. All right, so that's fun. But anyway, that's a lot of responsibility. Now you are responsible for 2 human beings that you have to make sure stay out of trouble. And that's one of my comedy routines. It's like God created this little planet a lot for his entertainment. Like raccoons and dogs and muskrats and kittens, they go from child puppy to adult in like 2 years.
Oh
yeah. Not these kids though. Not for humans. 18 years. 18 years. And like that's not even, it doesn't end there, right?
No, I was saying I think the brain stops developing around 26 even, so 18 is still a little young,
But you are financially responsible in America for 18 years, I think.
Yeah.
And then there's some dads, and I guess some women sometimes too, but more often the dads, what? My child? I don't want anything to do with it. And the mother can take over. I've heard of these stories. I'm fortunate that hasn't happened with me, but it could happen any time. So if you ever have somebody in a bad situation, you see them, don't belittle them. Don't look down on them. That could just as easily have been you.
Oh, the circumstances, it could have been any of us. There's lots of things that can happen, lots of tough things. Some people do it this way or, get scared and run away. But
and if you haven't been through a tough situation in life, just wait a little while. It's coming.
Ain't that the truth?
And it also brings the excitement out of life. My coma, not something I would ever advocate. I was sitting in the back seat of a car, just riding home. Bam, I wake up 7 days later. Terrible situation, but it helped me to realize the importance of life. And that's where I also then really enjoy highlighting those people who are making a difference. So shout out Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle that hopefully has some beautiful furniture in there. Because if you don't have furniture, I don't know where you're going to get it from, but you might as well get it from Carroll House Furniture. Soup up your little castle. Also, newest sponsor. Love these guys. They're really contributing to helping make this work. This is where we kind of took our show to another level recently, because the sponsorship really made it possible for us to just say to people, come on in. We produce these shows. Sometimes people do want to say, hey, I would like a copy of that. And if you want a copy of our show, then it's our work. Obviously, you can license it from us. But we used to have that agreement going in. Now we can say, just come on in. If you don't want a copy of this, that's up to you. That's your business decision or whatever. I mean, it's kind of crazy, I think, to not have. Somebody can say, we like to highlight those leaders. And so one of those leaders is My Metal Pro. Curtis Harlan, personal friend of mine, literally has revolutionized, helped me just get over that next level, because now we're doing 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 interviews a week. Thank you, Curtis. But God, it gives you what you can handle. And so we're pumping them out here, but we want to keep to highlight those. But go to My Metal Pro. If you need to understand and learn about this new thing, some people have recognized this new thing called gold. Ever heard of it? Well, you should learn about it. I didn't know about it until I researched it, because most of your investment guys don't want you to know about it because they don't make a commission on it. Most of your gold locations that you can get them for, pawn shops, gold stores, online places, they still don't want you to know that this company has revolutionized the way it's done. Systematized, automated, controlled, certified, guaranteed, and bought in fractional doses so that you don't have to, because that's what happens. You go to the gold store, they mark it up 20, 30%. You don't know that because you don't have any other option. But when you go through these guys, you can buy it down to, and look what they call spot price, plus a little markup they've got that is not even, it's like a tenth or an eighth, or at most a quarter of what other people charge. I don't know if anybody here likes saving 75% in their margin for their markup, but that's what we're talking about. So in general, you talk to those guys, they will help you. I am actually an affiliate with them, and so you can get the gold through me, through my affiliation with My Metal Pro. Reichert Contracting here. Now, if you want to get into something that literally will help change your world on the other end of your world, which might be your home. Who of us go to your home? I'm thinking of Adam Sandler in the movie. Go to your home, and he's putting in the ball.
Get in your home.
Well, I mean, that's what we all feel that way when we get to the point in life where we're like, I want my home to be my castle. That's why we named the show as such. But you want it to look beautiful. So here we are. We're going to talk a little bit more with that regard to Phil's information here. And as he does that, I forgot to pull up your reviews. I'm going to put him on the spot. I'm pulling them up right here. But at the same time, he's got that BBB rating, A+. Different company name originally. Now the company name is changed on the BBB. They have let's say the logo had to be updated. If everybody look, I always tell it how it is, everybody. But if you look here, we do have that BBB up on our far TV wall to the right. And if I make sure I hit the right button, because I switched them on myself, but I can even switch things and still keep up. But the Two Brothers Handyman was originally, and it's migrated into this. Right?
Yes, yeah, it's a rebranding.
But you can see right up here, Reichert Contracting at the top of the page, and that is combined with what you're doing there, still keeping that A+ certification. I'm trying to scroll around on my screen over there. I have to do it over here. But that is very important to work with reputable companies. Tell us then, if you will, I pull up your reviews. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to pull one off of there. Hopefully I pulled one of your 5 stars. Maybe I pulled one of your 1 stars. Maybe you don't have any 1 stars. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. So we're really putting him on the spot here. Is that okay?
Yeah.
He knows what I'm going to find out there, hopefully. If you don't know what your reviews are, you better find out. But tell me how important is it for you, Phil, to get that good positive the BBB A+.
Oh, it's to me it gives confidence to the customers when they go to search our company and look at have they had problems in the past? Have they anybody had any issues with them where they ended up being out a lot of money? Because we're talking about finishing your basement or remodeling your kitchen or remodeling your bathroom. It's not $1,000. It's not $2,000. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars depending on the project. So it's a big deal. It's a big investment.
There it is. Put him on the spot. Getting things going here. 9 reviews already. 5.0 everybody, and that's good to see because Donna here. All right, I'm going to read it. We are so happy with the remodeling done in our kitchen and master bathroom. The quality of the work was outstanding and was cleaned up thoroughly each day. The entire process was seamless from start to finish, and communication with Phil was, let me expand that. Excellent. We received numerous compliments and would highly recommend Reichert Contracting to anyone, as I put that on the wall for everybody to see. So there it is. All right. Well, we got the reviews going now too. How's that make you feel?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I've noticed too is the process in which people are getting their projects done, it means a lot to the customer. If you leave their house in mess every day when you leave, they might not be too happy about having you come back the next day and the next day, or call you for the next job. So it's, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is, cleaning up every day and leaving it presentable so you can still use your house while we're in the middle of remodeling something. I think that's a very important thing for the customers.
Well, back to ultimately your reputation is the most important thing that anyone has. Work on that hard, everybody. We all go through ups and downs in lives, and people that are jealous of us that want to convey their perspective, even though they obviously don't have everybody's had some incident where they had somebody that didn't get along with. But try to look at that big picture, I always tell people, and look at it objectively, not some emotional thing where you were like, oh, well, they ran over my kitty, and that wasn't done intentionally. Okay, maybe it was, probably not. But
let's hope not.
That's a pretty evil person. If you find somebody who intentionally ran over your kitty, let me know who they are. I'll talk to them privately. I don't embarrass anybody publicly, but I say, hey, privately, hey, let's have a little chitty chat here about your kitty cat. And figure out why this happened and why, and that's not a good idea. I'll tell you a funny story with regard to that. Kids came knocking on my door, had some kind of a special needs thing going on, and I'm like, I support everybody, good, special needs or not. I try to donate and give things, especially in the neighborhood and all that kind of fun stuff. I get a knock on the door about 3 months later. I don't remember when it happened, but they came back and they said, hi, I'm Pastor so-and-so with this church. This is, what's his name and what's his name? I won't say who. I don't remember. But they came by acting as though they had special needs, and they don't. And they were asking for donations. And they got some money, and maybe that contributed to their donation. The kids were right there. They put them on the spot. This was an interesting thing to see that, but bottom line is, like, never deceive. Now, these kids were kids having fun, probably didn't know anybody. It's a lesson learned for them. They're going to never do this again. I said to them,
that'll stick with you.
That'll stick with you. They took you to somebody's door, knocked on the door, and the owner came down and goes, and I said to him, hey guys, that's just not a good policy. That's not a good strategy for life. Because if you ever get caught in a situation where they see that you're overtly, obviously deceiving people, you will have problems getting jobs, getting work. and so,
treat people as you want to be treated. Do you want to be lied to? No. So, and I keep it honest with every customer about, if something happens and a tile gets busted, we got to rip something out to fix something we've already done, or make something right. I mean, just, you got to own up to it. There's no reason to beat around the bush or try and hide things. They'll always find out, and it doesn't look good on you as a company. And
the problem is, if some of those kids out there, we're talking a lot of kids now, there's some adults that still struggle with this, I know, and you wonder why they're still stuck in life. Hey, at any time, you can change your perspective and start to do things the right way. And you know what they are because you can feel it in your heart. But do those things and say, hey, let's just be straight. But what happens is I've had this happen to me with some stupid situation, and I said, just tell me, I'll handle whatever it is. I don't care if it's bad, good, whatever. I'll handle it. I've dealt with enough of that. I've been through a coma. I can handle just about anything. But just tell me what it is. But if you're going to misrepresent what happened, now I got to figure out what you're misrepresenting. Now that's more work for me to do, and more things I have to struggle with and figure out. And then I'll be more upset with you because you just wasted more of my time. I'll never forget a story. A guy did something and then covered his tracks, and they figured it all out. If he would have just come back to him and said, hey, I messed this up, it accidentally happened, I was trying something maybe I shouldn't have been doing, whatever it was, or something happened. Believe me, Microsoft stuff doesn't work perfect every time. I can talk about times I fixed Microsoft stuff that they didn't know was going to break it. We're working on a large environment, and I was the guy who had to fix those things. But instead of him doing that, he tried to cover his tracks. Well, guess what happened to him? Bye-bye.
Yeah, right? Well, it sounded like you were saying, like I was your kid. It's like, hey, if you tell me what it is, we can work through it. I do the same thing with my kids. It's like, I can't try and figure out what's going on because you don't always know. But if you're honest with me, we can work through it.
Yeah, name the person that's perfect. Name the person who's never made a mistake, and they can cast the first stone, right? Another biblical reference we got there, I think. But check out that first show. If you missed the first show, everybody, Phil here gives us some great insight. I finally said to him, I said, you sound like you're about 57 with the knowledge you've got here, but you don't look 57. I said, how old are you? Because you're not supposed to ask a gentleman his age, much less a lady their age. But just up front, let's talk about it. 36 years old, everybody, and starting a company here that's obviously done very well. All right, let's get into the more of the fun there, because that's not all there is to talk about. I want to share with people some of the other exciting things, like the reviews we covered there. But if you would say one thing that really sets your business apart, what would you argue that is?
Well, I mean, we're a smaller family-owned company, so you're not just going to be another number to us. I'm going to treat your house with care and respect as if I was your family member. I want to keep your house, clean, like I was saying, clean every day when I leave. But I wouldn't want, you to do anything bad, like as we were saying, doing to others what you want done. So I'm going to treat you like part of the family.
That's the key. That's why I love working with small business owners, because when you're dealing with a problem, and that is inevitable, even if it's just a difference in like, oh, I didn't think the tiles would look like that inside the bathroom, because you look at them from a 3D thing, maybe a previous rendering, some other work that they've done with previous photos they can show you, but not every situation is the same, obviously, so if the lighting's different. But whatever it might be, oh, I didn't realize. The bottom line is, when I'm working with a small business owner, I can say, can I talk to the owner? Oh, I'm sitting next to him. He's the guy that came to the house. He's the guy that delivered the stuff. He's the guy that actually did the installation. Or, worst case, he's the one that trained the guys that are doing the work. And they can say, Bobby, that wasn't the way we trained you to do it. Or, okay, great job, Bobby, but here's things you learn next time. Hey, sorry about that, customer. We'll make it right. Mm-hmm. Instead of going up that corporate chain to the top of some level and somebody talks to somebody else who says, oh, we made so much money. Tell them to forget about it. And then they get those nasty reviews.
Hopefully that's not your answer, yeah.
It would ideally not be that case, but big companies, it just gets to where, like, I was at a big store, I won't say their name, and I said, why don't you have these particular things that I need for the valve setting that I needed for my portable air conditioner? We try to keep it, it gets hot in here, everybody. And he goes, well, you can file that with corporate and they'll never answer you. He said that to me, and he worked there. Again, I'm not saying who that was, but
some things
it's just
lost.
The way it is, and so that's why we enjoy working with small business owners, so I appreciate you bringing that up. If you could talk about, though, for me real quick, what is the one mistake that you see is often made? I might have alluded to that a few years, but let's be very specific and talk about it in more depth. But when somebody's making a decision to get a kitchen, a bathroom, some big internal change to their house, do you any external, or is it mostly internal? Or do you,
mostly internal, yeah.
So contracting could be internal, inside the house, not talking about your heart or lungs. We're talking about inside the house, kitchen, baths, finished basements, but then there's the roofing and other stuff. But you focus indoors.
Yes, yeah.
And so then, what's the biggest mistake people make when they're literally ready to do this? They're right to sign you a check for whatever the money up front. You can talk about that in a minute. I have a question about that. That's on my list.
Yeah.
But
so
what is it that
there's a couple of things. I mean, key thing. It's if you don't do the research and don't have multiple bids, have people come out and take a look, and then if you go with the cheapest bid, sometimes that's not the best work, because
almost always that's not the next one. Something's getting sacrificed, whether it's like they're saying you can pay me less because I don't need as much because I don't have as much overhead. Okay, does that mean they don't have the experience? And so
that's what I was getting at. Sometimes, most of the time, it's inexperienced, or if it's a company that doesn't know how to price accordingly for their overhead and everything, they're not going to be around that long. It's I want to be here to be able to be there for any of my warranties if anything comes up. You go with these smaller guys, and then next thing you know, you call them in 2 years, they're not around anymore. But more importantly, you kind of get what you pay for. So. It's the quality there. Maybe they don't put down a RAM board throughout their house, so you're tracking stuff in because they can't afford some of that stuff because they're charging so little.
All right, with that, everybody, we're going to do a quick break to a new segment that Paul Brown, who's been on KMOX, KTRS, reporter for ABC here in St. Louis, personal friend of mine, he's joining us. And he said, Cowboy, we're going to do something. We got a bunch of buttons here. I just programmed these all late last night to play something new. We got let's tell you the Cowboy story. It helps you understand why we have an affinity for helping small businesses to make it on this little planet. Enjoy.
His name is Carter Rathwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rathwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. Well, hopefully everybody kind of enjoyed that. Like, it's a little bit awkward for me to watch that. It was written and produced. I helped him actually do the final touches on it and put some of the pictures in there that Paul wanted me to add. And I said, what about this picture? You know, he says, you need that one. I'm like, okay, we'll do this. And because I do the production and editing. But Paul wrote that script, and I appreciate that because I think it's important you understand who it is behind the scenes here and in front of the camera that's doing this and what we stand for. So I'm going to start crying here if I don't continue on. So, all right. I'm lucky to be alive, everybody. Every one of us is, if you really think about the odds and what you are and what we all have to go through. And just to be in existence on this planet. But that's why we want to highlight those leaders that are making an important impact on our planet. So let's jump in here. We talk about how does technology affect a business. And with that, I reached down here. I just took it off the table. But my book that I was fortunate to be invited to write the foreword. And I say my book, but I'm partly my book. I essentially wrote the first chapter. They told me. They said, Cowboy, you didn't write the foreword so much as you wrote the first chapter, but it really introduces the book. But it's the foreword, and this is the #1 seller on Amazon actually right now. But it's really important for you to read this kind of book because they actually outline the rest of the book. I talk about why it's important and what's going on and how you do it a little bit, and then they outline the whole thing for you. So if you'd like to learn more about that, get this book. It's called Magnetize Media. Right there, go find that on Amazon. But with that, how does technology impact the way your business has changed, even in the 10 years you've been doing it? I'm sure 16 years, 20 years, there's a lot of change. You've been doing this for a long time. How's business changed with regard to? Yeah, I'll put the camera off you. Well, you can. But how has technology changed the way you have run your business?
Sorry about that. No, it's a ton. There's been so many different changes, and I mean, like you said, I mean, we were talking earlier from dial-up to fast internet to high-speed everything streaming now. All the different apps. So there's different apps for scheduling things, setting out reminders, sending emails. I mean, just that's kind of more on the marketing side, which also, I mean, I guess sending out your invoices and all that. But tools. I mean, the technology within tools. The platform that, the 18-volt battery, now it's got there's so many different tools, and not everything has to be plugged in, and it allows you to do things more effectively with, it's quicker, it's easier, less dangerous. I mean, the whole nine. I mean, there's so many different tools now, it's insane,
Well, is it fair to say that if you're going to be successful, and I learned this, essentially my strategy was what I learned from Microsoft, here's version 4.0, all right? And that's after version 3.11, if you remember the old Windows versus the new. Version 4 was actually Windows 95. So we're going way back, everybody. But I just learned they offered a product that wasn't perfect the first time they did it, right? They obviously had upgrades. They had changes, service packs, they called them. Updates, literal updates. Today's updates, a lot of times it's security-based stuff. But the point there is the technology, the world is constantly, if you want to be successful, you always have to be improving. You always have to be learning what can better help you run your business to help your customer, your client. and even especially in your world, because now you're talking about physical things, but they get implemented now with laser pointers versus old tape measures and hammers that go instead of going. How many different ways has this world changed? And then the whole marketing thing that now you're responsible for when you were a small business prior. You can just put your stuff in the yellow pages and be a small business and let it go. The whole internet has changed the way things are done now.
Oh, and with the internet, you have videos, constant. So everybody's got Pinterest, and they watch how somebody did it one way, and they're like, oh, that's cool. I want that in my house. So it helps everybody, and it's kind of a crazy world. I mean, technology. It was 17 years ago, I think, the first iPhone came out. Like, that's 17 years. That's not that long of a time. I mean, everything's so much different now.
Well, with that, I want to give everybody a little taste of your websites. As you can see, we got them up here behind me, and I think I've got them reversed on my buttons. So I'm going to do Cowboy, reversing it right there. And there we go. So now look at this great looking website. You put together some great information here. I always have a few handyman tips. There we go. I saw your handyman reference there, but tips that I'll offer you. But man, you've really done a good job here to put this together. But you can see testimonials, information, and all in a nice, concise way for people to find what they need to. And some more information here with regard to what they can dig into a little bit. But here are services, electrical, and those other related. And then if you want to schedule an appointment, click right here. And that's right. The last question I ask you is, as we're about to finish up here, what's the best way for somebody to get started with you?
Well, this is obviously a great start. On our contact page there for the scheduling appointment, it sends me an email of what work you're wanting to get done. This is a quick, easy way to put a little something in there, and you're not expecting an answer right away. Sometimes I can't answer the phone and drop exactly what I'm doing. I could be climbing in an attic, trying to hook up an exhaust fan. I can't just stop and answer the phone. So this is a great way. I try to check my email every night or every morning, depending. It can get lost in the sauce a little bit when you've got so many different irons in the fire where you're coordinating with this client, and then you're trying to figure out permits on this one, and if anybody has any little issues that they're trying to work out with a design of the tile type or what vanity will fit, or carpet versus hardwood or anything. There's tons of stuff, but this is a great way to get a hold of me here. Other than that, text message and phone calls.
636-328-2322. Somebody can text you there.
Yes,
directly.
They can text me directly from
right
right
to
there.
you.
Yes, directly to me.
I've got a couple tips how I advocate. We'll talk about off camera, where he can have automations answer for him while he's crawling around in somebody's attic. That'll keep that person on the hook so that you don't lose them and say, hey, I'll call you back. I'll tell you how that works here in a minute. But it's kind of a new revolutionary thing. But hey, somebody who's really on the ball, everybody who's done a great job in our community as a community leader, running a business for a long time now, and helps to make this place, this world a little bit better every day. So those are the kinds of leaders we're looking for on our little planet. So thank you very much, Phil, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you.
All right, giddy up.